The previous segment highlighted China's strategic approach to military aviation, focusing on the development of fifth-generation fighters while simultaneously modernizing proven fourth-generation models. This dual strategy allows for cost-effective aircraft that can, in some cases, outperform the F-35. Now, the emergence of the Su-35 and other advanced Russian fighters raises significant questions about the long-term viability of the F-35 program. If the global market is flooded with alternatives, the F-35's carefully crafted image may no longer ensure widespread adoption. The Pentagon faces a critical juncture: either acknowledge the program's shortcomings or urgently seek ways to enhance the aircraft to meet new challenges. Originally, the F-35 was envisioned as a versatile aircraft, intended to replace multiple types of combat machines. It was designed to serve as a fighter, bomber, reconnaissance aircraft, and even an assault plane for the Marine Corps. However, this very versatility has become its Achilles heel. Unlike the F-22, which was crafted solely for air dominance, the F-35 was meant to be a workhorse, adaptable to various scenarios. Yet, in real combat, specialization often trumps generalization. The Su-35 stands as a finely tuned instrument for achieving air superiority, outclassing the F-35 in nearly every critical parameter. Experts argue that the F-35's primary strength lies in its ability to integrate into modern command and data-sharing systems. It functions as a flying computer, relaying information to other aircraft, air defense systems, and ground control stations. While this capability is invaluable in the context of network-centric warfare, it becomes secondary in direct aerial combat, where speed, maneuverability, detection range, and missile capabilities reign supreme. Moreover, the F-35 faces significant limitations regarding armament. When utilizing external hardpoints, it sacrifices its stealth, becoming as detectable as older generation fighters. Conversely, if it remains in stealth configuration, it is restricted to a smaller arsenal of missiles and bombs, severely constraining the pilot's tactical options. As the landscape of aerial combat evolves, the question looms: can the F-35 adapt quickly enough to maintain its edge? The stakes are high, and the clock is ticking. A formidable aircraft like the Su-35, with its unparalleled maneuverability, cutting-edge engines, and long-range armament, stands in stark contrast to the F-35, which must tread carefully to avoid direct confrontations. The question looms large: will nations invest exorbitant amounts into the F-35 or gravitate toward more economical yet remarkably effective alternatives? As the tide turns, the Russian Su-35 increasingly dominates the market, while the F-35 program wrestles with mounting criticism regarding its operational costs and maintenance hurdles. Moreover, the advancement of air defense technology cannot be overlooked. While the F-35 might evade older radar systems, modern Russian defense mechanisms pose a significant challenge, complicating the scenario for this stealth fighter. Recent events in Syria elucidated these vulnerabilities, emphasizing that American aircraft are not impervious to detection. The future of U.S. aviation hangs delicately in the balance, with the F-35 heralded as a versatile aircraft meant to replace a myriad of models. Yet, the reality starkly contradicts this promotion. Real combat experiences reveal its fragility and restrictions. U.S. pilots will need to heavily depend on their own skills and the backing of allies, rather than relying solely on the technology at their disposal. Conversely, Russia is solidifying its foothold in the aviation arena, pushing the Su-35 into various markets while simultaneously advancing new projects like the Su-57. This scenario shifts the dynamics in the skies, making the power balance less definitive than what American strategists have suggested. The incident over the Mediterranean serves as a reflective moment, unveiling the discrepancies hidden beneath glossy advertisements. What if the F-35 were to face off with the Su-35 in a real battle one day? The outcome may rest not on cutting-edge marketing, but rather on the battlefield readiness of each pilot and the sophistication of their respective aircraft. The stakes are high, and the reality of aerial warfare has never been more precarious. Where will this lead? Only time will tell, but the clarion call for reassessment echoes loudly within the halls of military strategy. In recent discussions about aerial superiority, the F-35 fighter jet has been hailed as the pinnacle of military innovation, a true sentinel of the skies. However, beneath the shiny veneer of its marketing lies a stark reality that even seasoned analysts cannot overlook. With each passing day, the limitations of this so-called marvel become more apparent, especially when pitted against the Russian Su-35. What happens to the narrative when two titans clash in the sky? The F-35 faces a daunting dilemma. If it opts for external weapon stores, it sacrifices its stealth advantage. This exposes it to radar detection like legacy fighters, stripping away its invincibility in the sky. Yet, if it remains in stealth mode, it is forced to rely on a limited arsenal. This constrains the pilot's tactical options, reducing their flexibility in combat. Meanwhile, the Su-35 confidently offers an extensive payload capacity without sacrificing maneuverability. How can a machine designed to dominate the skies falter so profoundly in strategic scenarios? As analysts contemplate a potential head-to-head engagement, the prevailing sentiment is grim for the F-35. They predict that in a 4 versus 4 matchup, American pilots would likely opt for evasive maneuvers, calling in support from the F-22 or F-15, both of which have proven their worth in dogfights. Yet, with the fleet of F-22s dwindling and F-15s gradually aging, the reliance on the F-35 raises alarms. What if they find themselves alone in the sky? A real-world incident over the Mediterranean only fueled these concerns. An encounter with a Russian Su-30 revealed a sobering reality for the U.S. pilots. Despite numerical superiority, the F-35s refrained from engaging and instead retreated. This event sent shockwaves through military circles, highlighting that the touted capabilities of the F-35 might not hold up under actual combat pressure. Can a fighter that retreats in the face of confrontation still rightfully be called a cutting-edge weapon? For the Pentagon, this incident was more than an awkward moment, it was a clarion call about the limitations of its flagship fighter. The F-35, with its array of advanced technologies and stealth features, still cannot guarantee victory against formidable adversaries like the Su-35. This Russian marvel, an evolution of the Su-27, flaunts unmatched agility, formidable engine power, and long-range weaponry. As F-35s shy away from direct conflict, the Su-35 actively seeks engagements that play to its strengths. How can this open the door for new players in the defense market? Countries worldwide, observing these developments, are starting to question the worthiness of investing in F-35s, particularly considering their staggering costs. The Su-35, on the other hand, presents an affordable yet effective alternative. Nations such as China and Indonesia are already securing their positions with these fighters, leaving the F-35 narrative on shaky ground. Will this shift in preference spell disaster for American military ambitions in the long run? The unfolding reality presents a crucial question: can the United States maintain its technological edge when its most advanced fighter struggles to even engage its opponents? As the balance of power shifts, the viability of the F-35 as a frontline aircraft is increasingly under scrutiny. The age of the invisible fighter jet is being defined not just by its stealth, but by its practical performance against challengers that dare to defy its reign. In this rapidly changing landscape, the F-35 may need to adapt or risk being outpaced by its rivals. How long can the Pentagon afford to rely on a fighter that struggles to embody the very ideals it promises to deliver? The previous section highlighted how F-35s rely heavily on pilot experience and tactical maneuvers rather than their aircraft's capabilities when faced with combat. Instead of engaging in close-range dogfights, pilots often depend on support from F-22s or F-15s, tasked with achieving air superiority. However, the dwindling fleet of F-22s and F-15s poses a significant challenge for American forces. So, what happens when these hidden warriors, F-35s, are forced into roles for which they weren't designed? As the U.S. continues to proclaim that the F-35 will be the backbone of tactical aviation for decades, the harsh reality looms large. Each aircraft's astronomical costs limit their procurement to a select few nations. Imagine countries weighing the price of these stealthy planes against their effective utility. Meanwhile, Russia and China aren't just focusing on invisible aircraft, they are continually enhancing their fourth-generation fighters, notably the Su-27 families. The Su-35, a pinnacle modification, has begun to populate air forces globally. As this trend continues, the balance of power could shift, strengthening Russia's standing in the arms market and complicating the landscape for the Pentagon. A pressing question arises: if 4 F-35s were to face 4 Su-35s in the sky, what outcome could be expected? Most experts believe American machines would fare poorly. After all, the F-35 was primarily designed as a strike aircraft, meant to deliver precise attacks on ground targets but only equipped for limited self-defense. Does this mean the F-35 might not hold its own in an aerial engagement? The very thought sends shivers down the spines of military strategists worldwide. Just how much faith can one place in a platform when its very capabilities seem to diminish in light of emerging competitors? The answers lie in evolving geopolitical tensions, where superiority is not just about technology but also about strategic foresight and resource allocation. As criticism mounts regarding F-35's performance, particularly in dogfighting scenarios, one must wonder, should nations continue investing in a machine that struggles against its peers? With ongoing modernization efforts and a shift in the geopolitical hierarchy, the question remains, could we soon witness a scenario where the F-35 stealth becomes less of an advantage and more of a liability? The stakes are higher than ever, and it's time to reconsider what the future of air combat truly looks like. What if the world's most advanced fighter jet turned out to be a paper tiger? The F-35, touted by American media and defense contractors as the pinnacle of military prowess, is marketed as the sky's versatile soldier, designed for reconnaissance, ground strikes, and aerial dogfights. Yet, beneath the shining surface lies a weapon struggling to meet its ambitious promises. Experts from Russia, Europe, and Asia suggest that when it comes to air combat, the F-35 pales in comparison to fourth-generation Russian fighters, particularly the Su-35. The Achilles heel of the F-35 is its very design philosophy. Prioritizing stealth over crucial attributes such as speed, agility, and payload capacity has left it vulnerable. Yes, radar may detect the F-35 later than the Su-35, but in close-quarters engagements, its survival rate is alarmingly low. The dilemma becomes even clearer when examining its armament. The F-35 can only carry weapons inside its fuselage in stealth mode, precluding the use of short-range missiles like the AIM-9X, which would betray its location. Hence, one would wonder, how can a so-called fifth-generation aircraft designed for versatility effectively avoid the very close combat it needs to thrive? Conversely, the Su-35 was crafted specifically for air superiority, boasting powerful thrust-vectoring engines, sophisticated avionics, and a radar capable of long-range detection. It outstrips not only the F-35 but also other American jets like the F-16 and F-18 in terms of maneuverability. As a result, military analysts largely concur, in a head-to-head scenario, the F-35 stands no chance against the Su-35. This stark reality forces U.S. pilots to rely more on their experience and tactical acumen than on the aircraft's capabilities. Interestingly, as the F-35 pushes forward in its supposed role as the backbone of NATO's tactical aviation, its exorbitant price tag remains a significant barrier for many nations. While Russia and China advance their own fifth-generation projects, they are not ignoring their fourth-generation fighters either, notably the Su-27 family. These models maintain an impressive balance of cost and performance, an area where the F-35 struggles. With the potential for increased exports of the Su-35 from Russia, the pressure mounts on the Pentagon. What happens if there's a confrontation in the skies between 4 F-35s and 4 Su-35s? Most experts predict a grim outcome for the Americans. The F-35, primarily designed as a strike fighter, grapples as it straddles its dual identity, a jack of all trades, yet master of none. Real-world scenarios echo this sentiment. Recently, U.S. F-35s faced a Russian Su-30 over the Mediterranean. Rather than engage, the American pilots turned away at the first sign of confrontation. This incident serves as a stark reminder of the F-35's limitations. If a previous generation fighter can challenge the much-hyped stealth jet so confidently, what might happen against the newer Su-35? The F-35 incident above the Mediterranean raises critical questions about its effectiveness. With competitive aircraft entering the global market, does the narrative of American air supremacy begin to unravel? As more nations eye the Su-35, the marketability of the F-35 wanes. If alternatives become plentiful, why invest in a fighter that struggles to validate its own existence? The landscape of aerial warfare is shifting, and the ramifications of underestimating the competition could lead to surprising consequences. In our previous discussion, we explored the combat capabilities of the F-35 and its limitations against the formidable Su-35. As many experts agree, the odds don't favor the F-35 in this potential aerial showdown. Unexpectedly, 2 American F-35s neared Syrian airspace, where Russian air defense systems were actively deployed. The plan was to assess these systems' effectiveness, but reality intervened unexpectedly. Suddenly, the F-35s faced a Russian Su-30 patrolling the skies. The American pilots, calculating the risks, chose to avoid confrontation. Despite having the numbers, they turned away from a direct conflict, revealing a crucial aspect of modern aerial warfare: perception can be just as powerful as technology. Imagine this: the sleek lines of the F-35, designed for stealth, now forced to retreat under the watchful gaze of an older but still agile Su-30. What does this say about the vaunted might of the American defense industry? Can the F-35 truly claim superiority over its Russian counterpart when faced with real combat scenarios? Many military analysts are now questioning the F-35's role. They see it as primarily an attack aircraft with limited air-to-air capabilities. It wasn't designed to dominate in the skies. Instead, it was built for multi-role functions across the Air Force, Navy, and Marine operations. Yet, this versatility has bred compromises. The F-35 neither excels as a dedicated air superiority fighter nor as a true ground attack bomber. Contrasting this, the Su-35 embodies raw power and agility. It stands as a second generation of the legendary Su-27. Equipped with cutting-edge control systems and extraordinary engines. In combat, this translates to an advantage. Su-35 pilots can outmaneuver their adversaries, positioning themselves strategically. But what if a real encounter looms on the horizon? If American pilots find themselves face-to-face with a line of 4 Su-35s, will their training be enough to survive? With so much at stake, one must ask, as cutting-edge as the F-35 is supposed to be, is it really prepared for the unexpected challenges of modern aerial warfare? The very fabric of air superiority might be unraveling, and the implications for future engagements could be profound. Would the F-35's advertised stealth be enough to prevail, or will it become a relic of yesterday's doctrine in the face of evolving threats?